Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So, are you preparing for your doctoral oral defense? If so, this video is for you. Okay, so guys, I shared in my previous videos that I just concluded my doctoral journey, and in this video I'll be sharing with you some of the questions that I was asked during my oral presentation. So the first question, which really was like an icebreaker, was why I chose my topic. Why did I choose my topic? What motivated me? And so you want to answer that question by answering what the problem was that you were solving for your study. You might put in a little bit about your personal reasons, but really what they're asking you is, what was the problem? Why was it even necessary to conduct research on that particular topic? So be aware of that. Be able to summarize your problem statement in a very brief form, because remember, this is just like an icebreaker, and the conversation, you're really more having like an academic conversation with other academics. So that is an icebreaker, and that was the first question that I was asked. The second question was more technical, where I was asked why I used the theoretical framework that I used, the theories that I chose. Why did I choose those theories? And I was using a multi-dimensional theoretical framework, so I had several theories, and I had to explain and justify why those theories were necessary, or how they were linked to my study and the problem that I was trying to solve. So be aware of this. What are the theories that speak to your own study? Which theories did you choose? Why did you choose them? How do they connect to your research question, your findings, and your research objectives? The third question they asked me was, and there were more questions on this aspect, which was the conceptual framework, because I created or developed my own model. So there were questions on how the parts were linked to each other, and how that model helped answer my research questions. So there were a lot of questions on that. They were quite technical. So if you're going to come up with your model, understand, know how to link it to your research questions, your objectives, your findings, and there should be a link throughout, so that you know, it is easy to read and to follow, and to also see that the questions that were asked were actually answered in such and such a manner. Hence, you came up with certain recommendations. And then the other thing they asked me was about my chapter in my thesis. Is chapter 3, the methodology chapter. You must know the methods you've used, the strategies you've used to collect data, and be able to justify, because otherwise, where is the credibility going to come from about your findings? So if you have used random sampling, for example, and you were conducting a qualitative study, that is going to be problematic. Remember, your examiners are experts in the field. They know these things. They certainly know these things. So my study was a completely qualitative study. So I chose random sampling, for example, and I was able to justify, why did I use snowballing, for example? Why use judgmental? Why not use other non-random sampling methods to collect data? How did that enhance my findings? How did it fit into being able to analyze data, come up with the findings? Why did I use those methods? I was also asked to just kind of briefly talk about the epistemology and ontology for my study and what it meant. So you must be able to know anything that you have put in your thesis. You must be able to explain it. And obviously, you are not going to know everything. So should you find yourself in a situation where you do not know the answer, be honest and forthcoming about it and say you don't know. However, don't stop on I don't know, because remember, examiners also want to check your analytical skills. At this point, you will be the expert. And so you must have analytical skills because you're supposed to be a problem solver. So if you don't know the answer, you can say you don't know the answer. However, if maybe you had conducted a different test, for example, you could have come up with a different finding from what you found out. Or maybe if you had used another method to collect data or to analyze your data, you would have come up with a different finding, or it could explain the difference that you came up with, or whatever the situation was. Be able to give that analytical part so that you can demonstrate that you are able to analyze and not just say you don't know, or don't even think of coming up with a brewing up an answer that doesn't exist. Because like I said, these are experts. They're going to know. Chapter 3, they're going to know, and they're going to interrogate you more if they feel that the methods that you've used are not suitable for your study and you don't seem to understand that. So it's going to create more problems for you. So I was asked questions about my methodology, which I think I did answer satisfactorily. So then I was also, what would I do differently? What would I change? So my answer to that was not to cross out what I've already done, because remember, I've already concluded the study, I've conducted the research, and it's finished. What I would do differently would be to use or incorporate, actually use the word to incorporate another method that would help boost my findings, because one of the challenges I faced was finding data, or data that is reliable about women-owned businesses, because my study was about women-owned businesses and their adoption of digital technologies. So it was very, very difficult to find relevant data that spoke to the South African context. So I said, if I was able to find or locate a woman who owned a business in the industry that I was researching, that could share or shed some light on what was happening in the industry at that time, what characterized the industry, for example, that would be able to fill some of the gaps that I noticed in my own study. Because remember, you must also be able to appraise or to question your own study, because there is no, even if it's perfect, there is no study that will not have limitations. So you must be able to self-introspect and stand out and interrogate your own work. So to me, one of the challenges that I saw was that lack of data that is very relevant in today's world, So that was the answer I gave. So if I could find such a woman that owned a business at the time, they would be able to tell us what was happening at that time. So that would be oral history. I also spoke about a photo voice. If I could have found somebody who had collected data on the industry or about the industry in form of pictures, and let the pictures tell the story, and that would have been a photo voice. So I answered that questions in that way. Then I was asked, I think now the conversation was kind of winding up, I was asked to advise upcoming researchers what they should look out for in the field, what they could change, the challenges that I faced. So those are some of the things that I was asked. More of the questions were technical, and they centered mostly on the model that I created. So you cannot really predict which question will be asked, which question will not be asked. You might be asked a question about the sources that you've used on your reference list, and you will be asked maybe what that writer said, especially if this is one of the main sources or the sources that you've referenced more times. You must be able to know what they say, what they write about. You must be able to know the seminal works in your field, they might ask you that, especially if I expect that you have used seminal work in your thesis anyway, you know. So be able to know your study first from beginning to end. Where you don't know the answer, be upright and say you don't know. However, you think maybe if you are done a different test, or you could have done X, Y, Z, or maybe you think the result was different from what you had initially expected because of whatever, you know. They might ask you, most likely they will ask you questions maybe on your methodology, because they must ascertain the credibility of your findings. How do we actually create, credibility about your findings if the methods that you've used are wrong altogether, you know, or you cannot justify the methods that you've used? So such things, icebreakers like tell us about your study in 2 minutes. You know, you meet someone in an elevator and you are given 60 seconds to tell that person about your study. How would you summarize that? So it's basically your abstract, but compact that abstract into 60 seconds, 30 seconds. So you must be able to understand your study for you to be able to do that. They might ask you things about your literature review, what sources you use, why you argue the way you argued, why didn't you argue against, and things of that nature. So what I would say to you, know your study from beginning to end. Be able to justify anything that you have put in your thesis, because they might ask you. And I went to my oral defense after I had received my report from the examiners. And the questions that your examiners raised in that report are most likely what they're going to ask you, because those are the issues that were not clear. So before you go to your defense, make sure that yourself and your supervisor have received the consolidated report from your examiners, so that you can go and prepare and correct in your thesis, but be prepared to defend your work when you go to your oral defense. So I'll stop here for now. Maybe I'll make a part 2 of what to expect, or the kinds of questions that will come that are most likely to be asked in your oral defense. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful to you. I'm wishing you all the best as you prepare for your own oral defense. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Subscribe, share, and like this video. Bye.
Maleki, that unanimous, your degree was accepted by all the examiners, and congratulations from my side as well. Yeah, and let me say, Prof. Itias, Reode, congratulations on your student. It's always, you know, it's not that well known, but we in the academic, we know that we are as relieved as our students. So congratulations. It's a long road, it's hard work, many hours and long candles that we burn to get to a situation like this. So congratulations from my side as well. Well done, good work, I must tell you that. I also enjoyed reading this, and I think good results that can come from this, and one will look forward to see some publications from your desk.
Thank you so much.
So with that being said, it's time for celebrations now, and we'll be there in our minds at least. But congratulations, Miranda. We are proud of you, and so our institution. This is the sort of work that we want to see, and the research that we want to be known for. So from all of us, congratulations again for you and your family. I hope you're going to celebrate for the rest of the afternoon and not start with an article. You can do that tomorrow. Thank you, Khalida. Thank you again for setting up a very good and thoroughly thought through process, and for everybody that were here today. Thank you, everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Prof.
Maleki, that unanimous, your degree was accepted by all the examiners, and congratulations from my side as well. Yeah, and let me say, congratulations on your student. It's always, not that well known, but we in the academic, we know that we are as believed as our students. So congratulations. It's a long road, it's hard work, many hours and long candles that we burn to get to a situation like this. So congratulations from my side as well. Well done, good work. I must tell you that I also enjoyed reading this, and I think the results that can come from this.